Mm. What's up, everybody? We're back with another episode of the Kings of Tennessee podcast. I am Chase Brown, joined as always by the great Billy Derrick. Billy, we were talking about this just a second ago. Ready for the sun, ready for it to come back out and play.
Uh, man, sorry, I got to reconnect my mic there.
No, you're
Um,
good. It's been dreary. We've been dealing. We had snow last week and ice all of last week, and then you wake up this morning and now it's just rain, and it's gonna rain all week.
yeah, yeah, dude, it's been tough. We had the snow, and then you had a bunch of rain. It's been muddy everywhere. But yeah, we're back, and I'd rather have like rain and mud than snow. I mean, and ice. So yeah, we're back. It's kind of slow week, but we do have Vandy, Tennessee on Saturday, which I'm like weirdly interested now to see how many Tennessee fans make it into the building. So we're gonna see. It could be a little bit of an implosion on the Vanderbilt basketball program. We'll see though.
I might have a different opinion as other Tennessee fans, but I'm kind of nervous about Saturday because I know that no matter how good the Orange and White are and how Vanderbilt's struggling this year, it's still a rivalry game, and those scare me to high heaven. And we've had Vanderbilt, going into Vanderbilt, and we've been confident before, and we've been favored heavily, and have struggled mightily against the Commodores. So I'm not gonna lie to you, Bill. I'm a little nervous. There's a small part of me that could see something going terribly wrong um on Saturday. I don't know what your mindset is heading in there, but
Yeah,
I
I
don't know if it's of mine.
I just don't see Vanderbilt with the level of talent they had last year. Like they had a pretty good team last year with Liam Robbins and guys like Studi and Jordan Wright that ended up leaving for other SEC schools. They had Lawrence and Manio, and they still have them this year, but I just don't see Vanderbilt with the type of team this season that can compete with Tennessee, a different style Tennessee team with Dalton Connect now that man, I think just adds such an dangerous offensive element to them that they haven't had under Rick Barnes. So they've got both sides of the ball locked down with their great defense under Barnes and then offensively led by Connect. So I don't know, man. I don't know that it'll be a 30-point beatdown. I think it could, but Vanderbilt usually doesn't get blown out under Stackhouse, which I think is their hope. Yeah, and weird things happen in that gym, especially when Vandy plays Tennessee there. So um, it could be an interesting night, but I don't see Vanderbilt really competing with, especially how dynamic Tennessee can be offensively.
That preview, we'll have predictions and a preview, and we'll get a little bit of a face off. It's been a while since Tennessee and Vanderbilt have faced off in sports. It's what we're coming up on, what, 2 months since the football game. So we're finally getting rivalry week back. We get it twice in basketball, twice in baseball. So we've got that to look forward to. Before we get into basketball, there's a little football housekeeping to kind of catch everybody up with. There's kind of a big one, Billy. A couple nights ago, Jim Harbaugh has officially left Michigan to take a job to be the Los Angeles Chargers head coach. He signed a 5-year deal, and now Michigan is left with a void that um, it seems massive at the moment. And if they go with a certain hire, it won't be so massive. And if they go outside of the school, it'll be very interesting. So Billy, what's your take on good old Jim heading back to the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all knew this was going to happen. I don't think many people are surprised. I guess there were maybe it might have been some Michigan fans hanging on to some hope of him maybe coming back. I know Michigan threw a bunch of money at him, but there's nothing like a Super Bowl appearance potentially. I mean, Chargers have a good team, so he played there. He played for the Chargers. So he wins a national title at Michigan, and then he's got a chance now to win a Super Bowl in Los Angeles. And he fits the West Coast vibe for me better than a Belichick or a Vrabel. So yeah, and he's got a quarterback. He's got a quarterback there. So I was not surprised to see him leave. For Michigan, you mentioned it. If they do stick with Sharon Moore, which I think they will, and you've seen reports out there that they will. There's a lot of buzz out there for Brian Kelly. at LSU. I don't see that happening. I think Brian Kelly has really reloaded LSU and they're ready for a big year. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think for Michigan they'll be fine. They still got talent. They'll have some players leave. Looks like McCarthy will be back, and I think Donovan Edwards will be back for Michigan as well. So they'll have talent still. I don't think they'll be a national title contender necessarily. They could still make the playoff. I'll be really intrigued to see if they beat Ohio State again. Man, that'd be something. Even after Harbaugh leaves and they have some guys leave, which they'll have players at the portal. But yeah, I wasn't surprised. I do think Sharon Moore is next in line now, and I think he'll do a good job. I mean, he came in and coached. What was it, 2 or 3 games there late in the season, and he beat Ohio State. He had enough, and they won with him. So he's a good offensive mind, and I think Michigan maybe changes their style a little bit. Maybe that a style that fits Sharon Moore and his style. And he's an offensive guy, so we'll see. I don't think Michigan's going to be the same Michigan, but I do think Sharon Moore is the guy, and it'll be interesting to see what they look like after Harbaugh leaves.
Yeah, I mean Cheryl Moore is absolutely the hire that if you're looking to keep this program together and keep it on the path that Harbaugh has kind of set it down, you hire Cheryl Moore. He coached the last 3 games, I know for sure. And then wasn't Harbaugh suspended the first 3 games as well? If I'm
I think
correct.
I think he was. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, so I mean 6 games, that's the first 3 I know were cupcakes. But he was the head coach, through the gauntlet of the season. He beat Penn State, he beat Ohio State. Um, and he kind of kept that team together. They love playing for him. You can tell that university loves him. And I think the recruits, they've had some big recruits get asked if they were going to leave, and they have put their full confidence in Sharon Moore. So that'll be good for recruiting. And I mean, that's a hire that keeps the program together. Now, Michigan has this law where all opening jobs have to be posted for 7 full days before they can be filled. So that seems to be kind of the holdup here. I think Michigan can apply for a waiver. Whether they have or not is yet to be seen. But if that's the law, then expect another week before we hear something. But they've mentioned a couple names. You've got Brian Kelly from LSU, Lance Leopold from Kansas. I'd seen Matt Campbell get his name get thrown around there. Billy, is there anybody other than Sharon Moore that you think would be a fun hire that's kind of out and about right now looking potentially to land here?
Boy, Urban Meyer is an out of the box one, but that would be unbelievable. It would never happen. Um, other than Brian Kelly, I don't know of anybody. I mean, maybe hiring from another school in the Big Ten, like I don't know, a Matt Rule or a Luke Fickle or somebody like that. I don't think Michigan would ever go Group of Five, even though there are some really good coaches in the Group of Five. Um, Man, out of the box, Mark Stoops potentially. I mean, again, he had that kind of tease with Texas A&M, but yeah, I mean, look, Michigan's a place that's a high academic private institution, like you said, very particular with their jobs, and they're committed to football, but they're not just going to hire somebody off the street that might be a sexy hire or a hyped up hire, but like I said, it's Sharon Moore, I think, and for Michigan, that's the best move. They do have Jesse Minter, who's their DC right now, who I think might be a head coach in waiting somewhere. But yeah, like I said, other than Brian Kelly, I don't know of anybody that Michigan would even really seriously consider.
Yeah, I've heard Brian Kelly, his name pop up a lot. Um, and I get that he's from up there. He's from I don't know where exactly up north. But he's from around the area. I know he's not far off from Michigan, so he could be a good fit. I know they talked about him if the Iowa job possibly came open. Um, but yeah, I think Sharon Moore will be it might not be the splashy hire, but it's the hire that will get the job done in the end. If Billy, if Brian Kelly does somehow get this job, wh- what do you think next year looks like for Michigan? I know we're talking about Ohio State's super team, but they have a head coach who couldn't coach himself out of a shoebox. So I don't know how super a team that could be. But do you project Michigan if Brian Kelly is the head man? Do we think they're beating Ohio State this year? Do we think, they're gonna make some noise for the playoffs again?
Well, either way, I think no matter who coaches Michigan next year, I think they're still a playoff team, playoff type team, unless they just make an awful hire and a lot of players leave. Um, but yeah, I mean, say Michigan does hire Brian Kelly. Again, I don't think it happens, but say they do. Yeah, I mean, he can recruit. He's from Massachusetts, so he knows that area up there. But I still think hiring from within is the best option because, like you said, the recruiting edge that you get, you can maintain some players. And Sharon Moore, with his offensive uh, pedigree, can even attract maybe some other guys from the portal and bring guys in. So with McCarthy coming back, like I said, either way, I think they're in a really good spot. Um, Brian Kelly would add kind of a different dimension. Like I said, he knows the area, and he'd be fine. But I just think Sharon Moore is the smarter option. And for Michigan, I don't think they need to really steer away from that because, it's the best possible hire for them to keep continuity within the program.
Uh, Good on Jim. I think a lot of people, not a whole lot of people, but I've seen a minority of people, thinking, why did he leave? He has the easiest job. He could have come back and keep going. But this is a guy who's like very ultra competitive, and I think he got the job done. He won a title, and that was kind of it. He had kind of hit his ceiling at Michigan, and it was on to the NFL to see if he can have the same success as he did at another one of the teams that he's played for. They get a top 5 pick. They get the number 5 overall pick, and Justin Herbert. So what more really could you ask for heading into a situation in the NFL, especially West Coast, LA? I know they like to get picked on for not having a lot of fans, but man, it's hard to argue with the city of Los Angeles. Oh,
Oh, sorry. I, I'm
you're
uh
good. You're
I'm
good. You're good.
I'm checking out a mock draft for the Chargers, and they've
Uh-huh.
got them taking Brock Bowers from Georgia, which would be huge. So he could have an impact like Sam Laporta did in Detroit. So yeah, I mean, with their draft spot, that's a very envious position to be in. I know they had a tough year, but Brandon Staley was awful. I mean, he that did not work out. And Jim Harbaugh is a guy that played there. I know they were in San Diego, but I think he can bring some excitement and maybe bring some of those San Diego fans back to LA because the Chargers have a pretty bad fan base in LA right now. That stadium consistently gets taken over by the road fans. Um, so yeah, God, if they can get Brock Bowers, and if they don't get Brock Bowers, they'll probably be in position to get at least Roma Dunze. So that they'll be able to support Justin Herbert. They've got a pretty solid offensive line. They've got a pretty good defense too, with some good players. So that's a good Charger team, and I'm happy for Harbaugh too. Like I said, he won a national title at Michigan. He did everything, um, that their fans wanted him to do, and he kind of escapes the NCAA violations and allegations that were on him, and he can start fresh. So yeah, it'll be interesting the staff he compiles there. But yeah, God, if they get Brock Bowers, that's a scary Chargers offense all of a sudden.
I started I started my scouting last night for the draft, and I wanted to start wide receiver because I think that position is so fun to watch. And Malik Neighbors is insane, dude. I watched probably 4 games of his last night. That guy is going to be so unguardable next year, and if Harbaugh can land Malik Neighbors and Justin Herbert, that team is going to be scary. So I can't wait to talk more about prospects as we get closer to April, Billy. That's also kind of coming up, man. It doesn't seem like it's that far away, or it doesn't seem like it's that close, but it'll be here in literal couple of sleeps. So I'm very excited about that. But yeah, glad on Hardball. Should be fun. And I'm sure by the time we get back next week, Michigan will have hired their man, it'll get past the 7-day mark. So we'll see. We'll have that to discuss. But as we mentioned before at the start of the show, Tennessee, Vanderbilt basketball on Saturday. Um, both teams coming with a week off. Neither of us played Tuesday, and we didn't play Wednesday. But we both had very interesting games Saturday. Um, we'll start with Tennessee. Tennessee mollywopped Alabama. Um, I said on the podcast 15 plus, and I was like, no, that's too crazy. 10 plus. And I know I texted you and said, man, I should have stuck with 15 plus. Um, Billy, were you able to catch any of the games Saturday? Uh, Tennessee, Alabama action?
I did. I watched a good bit of that game. It was pretty uncompetitive, honestly, for the majority of the game. Um, Tennessee shot 68% from the free throw line, so they made a lot of their free throws. Shot 36% from three. Dalton Connect, 36 points. Ziegler, 32. Vescovy, 24. Or no, those are, I'm looking at the minutes. I'm an idiot. Dalton Connect, 25 points. Vescovy, 10 points. Jonas Adu, 19 points. He's been really impressive for Tennessee. They had 15 points off the bench from Jordan Gainey. So, yeah, I did. And honestly, for Alabama, I was a little surprised. They're not a very good defensive team. They're really good offensively. Mark Sears is a heck of a player. He had 22, but other than that, they didn't have really anybody do much of anything. They were only 19% from 30. Tennessee just kind of suffocated them. That was their defense. That was their defensive pedigree that came out, and they had some guys hit some shots. And like I said, Jonas Adu, if he can play like that, all of a sudden it's a pretty scary Tennessee team. I think I texted you that this team is scary. When they play like that, they're tough to beat. Because Dalton Connect is unguardable, and their defense brings it every night. So that's the Tennessee team that they need to show up every night for them to win consistently. And for Alabama, they responded. They beat Auburn it was last night actually. So they'll be fine. But Alabama's got to get better defensively if they want to if they want to keep winning in the SEC. But yeah, Chase, for Tennessee, man, that's a scary team when they play like that. When they're able to score 90 and play strong defense, I don't know that anybody that can beat them.
Yeah, I think that's what makes this team scarier than the teams that Rick has had in the past. He has a team that's gonna suffocate you like crazy on defense. And if they're on, they're gonna put up 90, 95 easy on the other end. So this is a team that I haven't really got to see. I know Tennessee has this history of breaking shots for 5 straight minutes, 6 straight minutes. But you really haven't got that in the last couple weeks at least. I know that showed up against Mississippi State, caused us to, drop that game. But yeah, I think that this team, when they're on, they're on. And if they play like they played Saturday against Alabama and last week against Florida, this team has a chance to do something. Now, like I said previously, I don't trust Rick Barnes in March. So I don't know. Jury is still out. This seems like a team that's gonna fly through this regular season and then get put out by Oregon State in the second weekend. So it's scary.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, Tennessee's got to get it done in March. I mean, if they don't make at least the Sweet 16 this year, it's going to be a very disappointing season. That's where they're at. It's tough to win in March. But the good thing for Tennessee is I think it might be different because you do have a guy like Dalton Connect. You have that offensive element. You can give it to him when you need to, when you need a bucket. And Tennessee hasn't had that. They have not had that dude they can hand it to and say, get us a bucket. They've got that now. And when you have that, it's a lot more reassuring than when you don't. So guards win in March. Dalton Connect is a guard. They've got Gainey. They've got Vescovy, Ziegler, James, all kinds of depth out there at the guard position. But yeah, Chase, they've got to win in March, and there's gonna be some heat on Rick if he doesn't.
Yeah, that seat will be in an inferno on the surface of the sun if he can't get if he doesn't get past the second weekend. But we're a couple months away from that. Our main focus right now, this SEC is kind of wild. Like this SEC, I mean, it's a stacked conference, and anybody on any night can beat you.
Yeah, you look at Kentucky, just an uber talented team. I like Auburn a lot. Saw them live and they played Vandy last week. So much depth on that team. And you've got programs like South Carolina, who did really well in the portal, who are coming up strong. Georgia is playing really well. Florida got a win this week. So, yeah, it is. I mean, we say it every year. I feel like it's the best the SEC has been. They just keep getting better. Keep getting deeper. I think they get at least 7, maybe even 8 teams in the tournament. But yeah, I'll be interested to see like how does Tennessee match up with Kentucky? We saw they destroyed Alabama. How do they match up with Auburn? What about South Carolina? There's going to be some. We saw Tennessee lose at Mississippi State. It's hard to win on the road in this league, and Tennessee's going to have some challenges when they do that. But like I said, they've got Dalton Connect, and not every team in the SEC, you know, has a guy like Dalton Connect. Kentucky has some dudes, but they don't have that dude, the guy. So Tennessee's kind of got that trump card they can use when they go up against SEC teams.
I have a very non-serious question. Is this podcast presented by Mississippi State now after this last month in basketball?
Honestly, it might be.
Yeah, it's up there. We both have fallen at the hands of the Bulldogs. Saturday, Vanderbilt falls to Mississippi State, as did Tennessee a couple months ago, 55-68. Billy, I didn't get a chance to necessarily watch this game. Was out and about, but I kept up with it. I mean, was answer me this: it was close in the first half, was it not? Because I was thinking Vanderbilt, they're staying competitive, they're staying close.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it was a blowout, but Vanderbilt was really never in the game. I didn't even really get to be locked into it. Um, but yeah, they were on the road. Mississippi State, it wasn't a great crowd because honestly, whenever you're playing Vandy this year, it's just not going to be a great crowd. Um, it was just more of the same. They were inconsistent. They couldn't get stops when they needed it. They don't really have too many shot makers. They don't have a guy like a Dalton Connect where they can hand the ball to and say, "Get me a bucket." Um, but yeah, Chase, it was just more of the same, man. They don't have enough. They've got Manion and Lawrence. I like their guards. Those two guards, those are elite SEC guards, but they don't have enough around them. When you lose Liam Robbins, it's really tough defensively when you don't have a rim protector like that. And the guys they brought in, it just haven't held up their end of the bargain. So yeah, it was honestly more of the same. And yeah, I mean, it was close. It was somewhat close for most of it, but Mississippi State pulled away. And Tolu Smith is a really good player. Chris Hubbard, freshman they've got, is really good. And Mississippi State's going to sneak up on some people. I mean, they already did. They beat Tennessee. So yeah, new sponsor, Mississippi State basketball, man. Chris Jans has done a great job over there.
I will make sure to add that somewhere in this podcast that we're sponsored this week by Mississippi State. Um, but yeah, Mississippi State, they're a good basketball team. I watched them play against South Carolina. I watched them play against us. I watched their season opener against Arizona State. This is a very good team all the way around. I mean, Tolu Smith didn't even play in that first game against Arizona State, and they were up by 40 at one point. So this team is a very solid team. Good guards. If college basketball guards and big men, you could say that about the NBA, but the NBA is so different nowadays. But if you can get that, guard that can fill up buckets and have a big man who just bangs around down low, gets rebounds and goes up with it, you're going to be hard to beat. We see that a lot with Kansas and Purdue. Um, and we used to see that with Vanderbilt, honestly, too, with Luke Cornett. I mean, you know, I remember him playing when we were growing up, and that was a good basketball team. And I just have a question for you: is this Stack Hills last year? Stackhouse's last year.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I do think they're going to make a change. They're first off, their fans are just fed up. He's 0-5. To start SEC play, I don't really see them getting more than 3 wins in the conference. Might be even hard to get there. He made a comment after the Ole Miss game, and basically ripped the administration. He said, "We don't get junior and senior transfers at Vanderbilt." Um, and that was I mean, there was some truth to it, but it was an excuse after a loss to an Ole Miss team that does. They racked up in the portal with Chris Beard, and at Vanderbilt you can do that. The women's team has done that. The football team got a plethora of transfers this offseason. So that, I mean, it's not true. Yeah, Vanderbilt, it's harder at Vanderbilt, but you can. You can if you really work at it. That's a problem. Stackhouse has not worked at it. Um, he's been a lazy recruiter, and he hasn't done what it takes to win at a high level in the SEC. So, yeah, I mean, this is his 5th year. Chase hasn't made the tournament. He's made the NIT. But, the goal at Vanderbilt and the standard at Vanderbilt, like you said, they've had some good teams in the past. They've been down as of late, but he has done some damage there with the fans and with the alums, and there's not enough consistency with his program. They don't retain players. There's not a very good culture. And for Vanderbilt fans, they deserve a better basketball program and product, and they're not getting it. So yeah, I do think there's going to be a change. I think there's going to be a lot of coaches, a lot of young coaches, whether it's a group of 5 school or what have you. I know a lot of fans like Will Wade, who's at McNeese State right now. There's a coach at High Point who's doing a really good job, Alan Huss. You got Tommy Amaker at Harvard who's doing a good job. He would fit at Vandy. Does Chris Mack want to come out of the media? He coached at Louisville. He's a good coach. So there's coaches out there that really respect the Vanderbilt job and how good of a basketball program that can be in the city you're in Nashville. You can promote the city, you promote a Vanderbilt degree, and you're in the SEC. So I think there will be some coaches that want it. It's up to the administration now to make the change, and I think there's enough there to make a change.
I, it's a wild comment that a coach who's supposed to recruit is blaming other people for not getting juniors and seniors. Like, I think that lies more on him not buying into the program. Because if you're a transfer, you're not going to go play for somebody who just doesn't want to be there. Like, you want to play for somebody who's built up, he's locked in. We talked about this last week. Lives and breathes Vanderbilt basketball, and that's on Jerry Stackhouse for not buying in ever. I don't think he's ever bought in. Like, since he got there, I don't. It just the way his mannerisms, his body language on the sideline, his body language even this year has been horrible during press conferences. The whole Dion thing we talked about before the season even started, it's wild. So as a Tennessee fan, I'm very excited that Stackhouse is going to be gone, and I really am looking forward to a fun coaching search. Because I'm of the opinion Vanderbilt is a nice job. That's a handsome job in SEC basketball. Because this team used to beat us a lot. And it used to be ugly. When we were in high school, Vanderbilt was kind of had the upper hand in basketball. So I mean, I feel it coming, and I feel it's going to turn around, especially with the NIL. And it seemed like the football got a boost, and I think the basketball team is next. They just have to get somebody who can lock in, and if it's a young guy, that to me that's a home run hire, no matter who it is. Because the way college football is and the way college sports is, these young coaches are going to know how to use name, image, and likeness and build a fantastic program out of it. And I think
Yeah,
Vanderbilt's a top job.
I agree. I agree. I think it's a top half job in the league, and you're in the city of Nashville. Vanderbilt has the donors that want to support, and they've got the money. And who says they can't do what Ole Miss has done with Chris Beard and even Lane Kiffin? I mean, they've got the money. And they've got fans that are starving for their basketball program to get back to where they were, like you said. With guys like Luke Cornett, and even going further back with John Jenkins, and even further back with Shane Foster. Like, Memorial Gym used to be an absolute awful place to go play and to get a win, because their fans cared, students showed up, and everybody wanted to win, and it was a fun place to be, but it's not anymore. They got to get back to that. And like you said, Chase, I think there will be coaches out there that want this job. Now it's just up to the administration to make the right move.
I want to set in forth a motion. Starting today, we're going to hashtag make Vanderbilt great again. That's the
I like
movement.
it.
We're starting it now, and I think day one starts when Vanderbilt gets a new hire. I'm saying this podcast is changing me. I'm gonna have to go take a nap for a minute. But yeah, make Vanderbilt great again. Tennessee wants to see it. Everybody wants to see it. Especially a big city like Nashville, like you said, both weeks. Nashville's a big city. It's a growing city. And if college basketball is rampant in a city like Nashville, then the whole SEC is better for it. And teams are going to be very scared in a couple years going into Memorial Gym and having to go on a tough road trip to Nashville, and I'm very excited about that. I think it's coming, especially Clark Lee kind of has it buzzing with football, and I think you're gonna get a guy in there that's gonna get a buzzing with basketball. But Billy, do you have a score prediction Saturday? As much as we
I
talked about,
think, yeah, I think Tennessee wins by. I think they win by at least 15. I think I'd go something like 87 to 70, something like that, where Tennessee then control the whole game, and Vanderbilt really never shows a sign of life. Tennessee's just too good. They got Dalton Connect. There'll be a lot of Tennessee fans in the building. It'll feel like a home game. I think Tennessee will be ready to go, especially after last year. They're trying to get revenge after that buzzer beater, which who would have thought that would have happened? But yeah, I've got Tennessee big. I'll go 87 to 70.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna be, optimistic. I think it's gonna be a fun first half. A fun half of the first half of the first half. If that makes sense. I think we'll get a very competitive, uh, 7-8 minutes, and then I think that's kind of the last couple games. That's when Tennessee's kind of clicked. So I think we get a very competitive 7-8 minutes, and then after that, it might be a wash. I'm of the belief that, like, I don't know. I'm going back and forth here. I'm gonna say final score 92 to Billy, this is not to be insulting. 92 to I'm gonna say 68.
Ooh, you're not far off. I don't think. I
Like
really don't. I don't think you're far off.
I don't
And
want to be
Chase, I think
disparaging with it, but
no, I think Vandy fans wouldn't be mad about that because it could, you could get an absolute pummeling, a beatdown of epic proportions, and you've got Tennessee fans singing Rocky Top all night on a Saturday night in Memorial. I mean, this could get ugly. And so I think fans want that. As weird as that sounds, and as bad as that is, I don't think Vanderbilt fans would be upset about that because it kind of starts the train rolling of, okay, let's kind of start looking for a new coach.
you think there's any chance at all that he's gone before the end of the season?
I thought about that. I don't think so. Like I don't think they've ever done that. But I think this is a game where if it is ugly, like I think it's going to be, and Tennessee fans take over and they make it embarrassing, then that has to really piss off the administration and say, okay, this is it. So this could be the starting point of the kind of the thoughts rolling. But no, I don't think it's a midseason hire. I think the earliest it comes is after the season.
So you're telling me that Tennessee is going to play a big part in hashtag make Vanderbilt great again?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, inadvertently, kind of inverse reality. Tennessee could, just like Vandy did for Butch Jones when they beat that Tennessee team. I forget which year it was, but they beat that Tennessee team that was going to go to the Sugar Bowl. They thought they were. Vandy beats them somehow, and Tennessee's like, all right, we got to fire Butch Jones. I think it could be that, not mid season, but definitely after the season.
Yeah, you put the dagger in the vampire's heart. And then we ended up
Yep.
swinging and missing with the next hire, but we don't talk about Jeremy Pruitt around these parts.
Pruitt
Um,
era.
as far as I'm concerned, it goes Jones, Heupel. Uh, but yeah, I think that's really about gonna do it for us this week. Like we said before, slow week. Next week, hopefully, we have a Michigan hire. We're gonna recap this basketball game and recap Tuesday's game, and then it's getting close. We talked about this last week. Billy's baseball corner is right around the corner. So everyone get buckled in and ready for that because I'm excited for Billy's Baseball Corner. So we will see you guys next week. And when is the sun coming back? We may never know. Goodbye, everybody.